It's time for Coffee with the Chicken Ladies, a podcast for people who love chickens.
Hey everybody and welcome. It's Chrisie&Holly from Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. We're here and this is episode number 7 of our new podcast where we talk about everything chicken, family, fun, and
more chickens.
More chickens. We drink a ton. I'm talking a ton of coffee, but most importantly,
we hug our chickens every day.
And kiss them too. Today we're drinking coffee from a local coffee house here in Bel Air, Maryland, Coffee. Holly Ann, what kind of coffee are we drinking today?
Hazelnut.
Hazelnut is really good coffee. If you're local and you like scones or really good coffee, go over to Coffee and get yourself a cup of coffee. You will not be disappointed. So, we are here, January. It's cold outside.
It's cold.
I mean, the middle of the winter.
No, we're like 2 weeks into winter.
Oh, yeah.
It just feels like as soon as Christmas is over, the holidays are over.
It feels like the middle of winter.
Winter, I know. You have no more use for the cold weather.
And it feels like, because fall we had like the snow before the holidays and big snow. It just felt like winter was there all along.
No, actually, when you think about it, 1 month before we had that big snowstorm, it had been 80 degrees.
I know, and then we were complaining like it's never going to be chilly, and then all of a sudden, boom,
we have 6 inches of snow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's mid-January, and we're just trying to stay warm, keep the chickens warm.
Right.
How have you been?
Fine. I will spend the next 2 months complaining about the cold because I detest cold weather.
Me too.
Suck it up and get over it. Both of us.
Yeah. It's cold outside. Oh my God.
Well, having sheep is kind of fabulous because I really don't worry about it has to be pretty cold for me to worry about the sheep being cold.
I mean, their wool is so thick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the epitome of saying like sheep has like this huge coat on.
They do. They have huge woolly blankets on their bodies right now. So.
I mean, you can't even feel through it. It's so thick. When I put my hands on it, it's like,
oh, it's really dense, especially on the Hog Island girls.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm really relieved to have sheep because I worry about the chickens when it gets super cold.
The chickens I worry about. Like when you walk back and their poor little legs are so red, but you know that their body's working because it's sending all that blood to the extremities and warming them up.
Yeah.
They're back there and you're like, but we have to remember they are tiny dinosaurs.
They are tiny dinos. It's really the cold wind is the problem.
And that's why those tarps that I put up, I mean, they really do come in handy. And the straw bales to block some of the wind.
Yes.
Even on the outside of the run, I've been putting some around, so.
Yeah, and I will really try to control myself and not whine for the next 2 months. It's going to happen here and there, though.
It's going to happen with me. I'm not even going to try to say it.
So,
we want to take a minute to tell you about Iowa Blue Farm. They make 100% all-American oven-dried black soldier fly grubs for all different kinds of poultry. So we have chickens, but other people might have turkeys or geese or ducks. They all love them.
My girls come running for them.
The blue bag.
Yes, and it's so important right now when the winter layers are starting to lay again to have that concentrated source of protein and calcium.
Both, because you want your eggs to have a nice hard shell in them and to be healthy. And these grubs, who wouldn't want a little bit of boost of protein in the wintertime?
Right.
And I mean, mine, I swear to you, they can see this blue bag from a mile away.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
they come flying and running and shrieking when they see this bag.
I mean, and it's so nutritious for them that you don't feel bad.
Oh, no.
If you haven't tried these grubs for your poultry, you should, really. Go over to their website, iowabluefarm.com, and as always, they do free shipping.
Yes, always free.
Always free, and they're baked with love.
Yes.
Always. Okay, so with that said, let's move on. What's our breed spotlight?
It's the Iowa Blue Chicken.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
So when Iowa Blue Farms first started sponsoring us during our podcast launch, I was curious where the name came from.
Right.
And the business owner, Jackie, said there were a couple of reasons that she came up with Iowa Blue, but it is the name of a breed of chicken.
Which we discovered through all of this.
Yes. It's a beautiful, rare breed American chicken. The Iowa Blue was developed in Iowa.
Of course.
Around the turn of the last century, so the early 1900s. They're currently not recognized by the American Poultry Association, and they're also not recognized as a heritage breed by the Livestock Conservancy.
Which is a little sad, which means they won't kind of get under that umbrella of protection.
Right, they don't have the support.
But it is a very beautiful chicken.
They really are beautiful. They share some traits with Java chickens, which are really an old-style heritage breed.
And we are going to be talking about Java chickens.
We will in a couple of weeks.
So hold on to your pants for that one. That's
yes.
a good one.
And there's this sort of folk legend about the Iowa Blue. They're supposedly, this legend says they're a cross between a white leghorn hen and a pheasant.
That's so strange to me.
It is, and apparently pheasants and chickens are from the same order.
So they can mate.
They can, and they can cross, and they do make a really interesting offspring.
But what we were looking at is this chicken does not have white earlobes.
No, it doesn't have...
It doesn't lay a white egg.
No, it doesn't really have too many leghorn traits. And I think that if they do make that hybrid chicken-pheasant, I don't think that it can continue to create... I don't think it breeds true, is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Like, it's not going to breed the same each time.
So, it's a fun legend. But
it's a fun legend, but so basically what we're saying is no one really knows.
Right. The Livestock Conservancy did study the breed. They were on their study list for a while, but they really had no way to find documentation about the development of the breed, and ultimately they did leave them off the poultry conservation list.
The one thing when I look at the chicken is the tail does go straight up, which does remind you of a Mediterranean breed.
Right. And
maybe not the leghorn.
Well, there are a lot of breeds that share that trait. And,
exactly.
And
it stands more straight up versus...
Right. Breeders say that upright sort of fantail is the hallmark of a purebred Iowa Blue chicken.
Right.
They also have these beautiful dark eyes. They're very noticeable when you see one of them.
I mean, the colors on them are just striking.
Yeah, I can't say enough how pretty I think they are. They're not truly blue.
No.
They sort of have a silvery colored head.
Yeah, and they're like white and black kind of with a silver.
Like silver penciling. They have red earlobes. Again, they don't have the white earlobe of a Mediterranean breed.
And they have slate legs.
Slate blue, legs and feet, yeah.
So, I mean, that will tell you kind of different crossbreeds, even Americanas that have slate legs,
right.
different types of chickens.
And illusions.
And they lay like a creamish color egg, which would lend more towards like, I don't want to say like an Easter egger, but maybe a mixed breed of some...
Or maybe one of the European breeds that are not Mediterranean specific.
Right.
It's really hard to know. What we do know is that there are 2 color varieties. There's a silver penciled, which would, if they were accepted by the American Poultry Association, the silver penciled would probably be the variety that was accepted. There's also a birchen. The birchen, interestingly enough, they do know how the birchen was created, and it was breeding Iowa Blues back to black leghorns and Fayumis, the Egyptian Fayumi.
That is very interesting, and what a time to learn about this when we were just talking about that
About
breed.
the Fayumis, right.
Now, the black leghorn, I did look them up. That does seem to resemble more of that chicken, more than like a white leghorn.
You could see it, right.
But it still doesn't have the white earlobes.
Right. I think it may remain a mystery.
Which
I guess unless someone did genetic typing on it.
Maybe.
I guess you'd have to have...
So, yeah. So what we're saying is that it's a really beautiful chicken that we need to figure out more about and do more studies on.
Yes.
And maybe put a little bit under that umbrella of protection so that we can figure it out. They lay good eggs. They're considered dual purpose.
Right.
And the hens do go broody.
Yes.
So that's good if you want to hatch chickens. On the other hand, we say this all the time. Sometimes it's not your friend to have a broody hen.
If you're trying to breed for conservation, a broody hen is a good thing, though.
Yeah. If you want to keep the Iowa Blue going and you want to breed that, you want that. The other thing is they're excellent foragers.
Yes.
Which is a good trait for any chicken.
It is. I mean, again, the turn of the century, when you were letting your chickens range, that was something that's important, right?
To find something to keep themselves going. And then the other thing that we found out is that the Prues are excellent defenders.
Yes, and I saw in more than one place that they're supposed to be very good defenders against hawks. Personally, that's not a position I would want my rooster to be in if you could avoid it at all. I mean...
I would want to avoid that too, which means, you don't want to just leave them out. We talked about that before, about free ranging.
Honestly, and this is our take. This is just our opinion of what we would do. There's not a breed alive that I would let free range unsupervised.
Not if you're in an
area
where you have high predators, which both of us do. So, we always do supervised. But, I mean, that's one of the things they're known for, is being able to defend against the hawks.
Right.
So that's good.
And like a lot of heritage and rare breeds, it's the same story. The Iowa Blue fell out of favor as farms and small hatcheries were replaced by larger industrialized companies, and the demand for industrial purpose breeds, so either meat breeds or
High
egg breeds.
production egg breeds.
Exactly.
Leghorn is one of them.
Exactly right. There is an Iowa Blue Chicken Club.
Which I found so interesting. That
Yeah, we put the URL for it in the notes, and it's a website that's worth looking into if you have any interest in this breed at all.
Which it's so cool. Like, even just to study a breed, if you're not going to be able to get that chicken, it's really cool to look back at the different ones and learn a little bit about their past.
It really is. And again, they're just a pretty chicken. They're very...
It really is.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
roosters
everything we're looking
especially.
at, they're beautiful.
They are, yeah. So in 2012, the Iowa Blue Chicken Club formed. They really were working to bring the breed back from that endangered status. And one of their stated goals is to pursue American Poultry Association acceptance.
Which isn't really too much to ask. If it's being bred and you want the chicken to come back.
Right. The American Poultry Association, I think you have to have a sponsor. You have to, someone has to sponsor the breed.
Okay.
And there are a lot of boxes that need to be checked.
Before that they'll
Exactly. But again, they do talk more about a proposed breed standard
Okay.
on the website. So again,
Okay.
if you're interested, it's worth checking them out, iowabluechickenclub.com.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So as I was looking, I didn't see a lot of negatives about the breed other than the fact that they have fallen out of favor and they're so hard to get your hands on.
We couldn't really find a ton of places where you can actually get your hands on this
Right.
bird.
The wonderful Sandhill Preservation Center in Iowa has really been instrumental in bringing this breed into the 21st
So
century.
that would be number one, the place to check.
They do offer breeding stock. One of the only negatives I found about the breed is that the silvered penciled birds
Okay.
are subject to laryngotracheitis.
Now that is a mouthful.
It really is. And this was according to feathersite.com. That's where I saw this. And they speculate that this could be due to inbreeding.
Okay.
But there is an immunization that's effective, and it's recommended for anyone who wants to keep an Iowa Blue flock. And the hope is that with selective breeding, they'll be able to get past this particular health
Right.
problem.
That would be good.
Yeah, where in the future, with repeated breeding, all flocks would be immune to this.
And with this day and age and breeding backyard chickens like so popular and becoming up and coming and the thing to do for everyone, that's when you want to see the resurgence of these types of chickens that kind of have fallen out, which is kind of
Right.
cool. Like someone say, Iowa Blue hen, to take in this type of chicken and nurse it back, put it back
Right.
on the mat would be great.
These heritage breeds that we've been talking about, and we're going to include the Iowa Blue in there because they're
Yeah.
clearly an American
They've been
heritage
around
breed.
a long time.
They are not appropriate for these industrial settings, but that's not what we want them for.
They're appropriate for a backyard setting.
Right, they would make perfectly good pet chickens.
Right.
They're beautiful, they lay eggs. If you want to hatch eggs, they go broody. If you
Right.
want to breed them for conservation, they're certainly a worthy breed.
And let's look at it this way. Backyard chicken farming is not about industrializing chickens.
Not even
it's
close.
about loving chickens and farming and nursing them to give them yummy eggs for you to eat at your table. So, you think that we've said all that we can really say about...
I think so. Again, I had a lot of fun doing the research on this chicken. I didn't even know they existed, and I've had chickens for 20 years and been a 4-H kid.
I loved it, and looking at the pictures of this chicken were just fun to me, and to see how beautiful it is.
And there's yet another beautiful rooster
Yeah.
out there. They're gorgeous roosters.
Okay, so why don't we pop into our main topic
Okay.
for today, which it's always not fun to deal with, but it's always best to be prepared.
It is, yeah.
With chicken farming backyard, something can happen at any moment. You don't know when it's going to happen, and that's the whole point of it. To be prepared for a medical emergency
Right.
is a key.
Absolutely. I mean, any kind of livestock I've ever kept, or pets, dogs, cats, my
Anything.
sheep, any of them.
Humans,
Right.
we all should be prepared for something that's going to happen to us.
So we keep a first aid kit, and we, tailored to each animal. There's a sheep first aid kit
Yeah.
in our cabinet, and there's a chicken first aid kit in our cabinet.
I mean, and honestly, the first aid, if you haven't guessed already, we're going to talk about keeping a first aid kit for
Right.
your chickens, which, everyone, thinks about it, you have the best intention to do it, and then
Right.
it's one of those things that you don't do until something happens,
Right.
and then oh no.
And it's great if it happens and you have time to run out to the farm supply store.
Right.
It's not so great if what you need, A, is not carried at the farm supply store,
Or
if it's after hours, exactly, on a Sunday morning, or
after 4 on Sundays.
Yes. Things just pop up at bad times.
It's happened to you, it's happened to
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
And to have these things on hand can take a little bit of the stress away from it.
Yes.
To be able to be prepared for what's hitting you is a good idea.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we're going to talk about what we want to have in that first aid kit.
Right. And we will also put this list in our show notes.
Because I think it's so important. It's when we first started talking about doing this podcast, this was one of my main things I wanted to talk about,
Yes.
is to help everyone be prepared, because I'm right there with everybody.
Right. Right.
And, to be prepared keeps you one step ahead of anything that could potentially happen.
It does. So
Let's talk about what are the few of the basic things that we should have in this first aid kit.
The number one is vet wrap.
If everyone, so I'm a retired veterinary technician, was in the field for 15 years, so I know exactly what vet wrap is.
Yes.
But vet wrap is also called Coflex. It's a wrap in which it's a sturdy wrap that adheres to itself.
Yes.
So it's a wrap that you can put over gauze, over something to keep something stable, or to make a bandage. And you can get it in local feed stores.
Right.
You can order it.
Yes, you can order it on Amazon or almost any other place.
Yeah.
Where we are, some of the Walmarts actually carry it in the more rural parts of Maryland.
Yeah, so having it on hand, and it comes in fun colors. So that's one thing you get to do. You get to pick a fun color that you have.
And honestly, bandaging a chicken foot without it would be a nightmare. When I was a kid, I grew up with horses, and when I was a kid, if there were a leg injury, you would have to wrap it and pin it.
Yeah.
You'd have to pin.
And that's where vet wrap came in at first, is the use in horses.
Right.
And then it crossed over into the veterinary medical field.
Yes.
In which it was used for small animal practice.
Right.
And chicken are under that umbrella.
That's
now.
right. That's right.
So vet wrap, Coflex, it's inexpensive. Always have it.
Buy multiple. It usually costs about $2 a roll. I buy like
inexpensive.
5 or 6 rolls at a time.
So that would start us with what you're going to have in case you have to have a bandage.
Right.
So roll gauze, 4x4s, which are gauze that you can cut into any shape that you need.
Mm-hmm. I like the 2x2s for chicken foot things.
Yes.
Say you have bumblefoot, it's really easy to get them down to shape.
Yes.
And the 2x2 is the perfect size for a bigger rooster foot.
It's a little smaller. Yeah, exactly. So gauze squares. And then we have the ointments that we may need if these things come up. So Neosporin, silver, ointment, iodine, those types of things. Also craft sticks. This is a personal thing for me.
For splinting.
Because, we talked about it. We joked about how Drusilla came to your house this summer because of her leg injury.
Right.
But that was scary.
Right. Not knowing what was wrong with her.
Open up the coop in the morning and have her come out and have this really strange gait and not be able to walk on one leg.
Right.
And, you need to splint it.
Yeah,
so thinking about the size of a leg, craft sticks are perfect.
Popsicle stick. What we used to call popsicle sticks, but they're essentially craft sticks.
And you can cut them to anything you need.
Right.
And at one point I thought it was her toe, so she had a toe splinted.
That's right. She did have a toe splinted.
And then in with the bandage thing is white tape.
Yes.
White tape is, if you need to bandage something, it's a medical tape.
Yeah,
so
the white
adhesive tape,
right.
It's not going to, mess with their skin on their legs. So those are the types of things for bandaging, for cuts.
Right.
For you have an attack.
For bumblefoot.
For bumblefoot, definitely. So the other things that we were going to talk about are the things that you might not even think about, but again, I've been hit by this. And you helped me out, this Polyvisol.
Yeah, liquid vitamins.
And this is something that it's not even in the chicken section. It's in the human section.
Right. It's usually found with infant medications.
Right.
It's Polyvisol is liquid vitamins for infants. And for chickens, you want it without iron in it.
Yes,
no
without
iron
the iron.
Right.
It's packed full of vitamin E, which sometimes...
If you have a chicken that developed wry neck.
Mostly in chickens under a year.
Exactly.
Usually it's a deficiency in that case. There's other things that can cause that, but this is
It's
something.
a good thing to have on hand. I think it expires in about 6 months once you've opened it.
Right, so twice a year.
So you probably have to replace it
It's
twice
like
a year. Yeah.
$15 a bottle.
Right.
But it's well worth it to have.
Yes, because you tend to notice, again, this thing when you're putting people in for the night or first thing in the morning.
Yes.
When you really don't have
And you
time to
can't-
run out.
Yeah. So, that type of thing that you should have, and that goes along with like the enzymes that you can get at the feed store.
Probiotics, electrolytes.
That you're going to add
I
into
just-
the water.
Right. Rooster Booster is a good one to keep on hand.
If you need a little bit of a boost with the vitamins, definitely.
Tums.
Yeah. Tums, if you need a calcium boost,
Right.
Tums are a way to pump that up. So I keep that in my first aid kit also.
We keep them on hand for the chickens and the sheep.
Yes.
If you have a mild belly upset with the sheep, sometimes, well, our lamb Phoebe will actually eat them like candy. But,
Well, some people do too.
right. But
They're
Phoebe's an unusual lamb in that she's a bottle lamb, so.
So the other things that we've been talking about are dewormers. You should always
Yes.
have them on hand. It's always good to periodically give them some natural ways to, if something happens, they can cut down on something like pumpkin is known to
So
help
some of the natural preventatives.
prevent it.
But
But
if
if
you
you're
have-
having a problem,
Right.
You want to have some dewormers on hand.
Right. And our standard used to be Vaseline.
That is discontinued.
It is. I was really sad to hear that because it was one of the few dewormers that you could put in the flock's water and they would all drink it.
And now there's more capsules out.
Right. So what we have switched to, it's also broad spectrum.
Takes care of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's Safeguard, which
Yeah.
I've used for years with the livestock too.
And you can open it up and
Fenbendazole, right.
put it on some food that
Right.
you're going to give them right away and
Right.
watch them take it down.
The downfall is that you have to dose individual chickens with it.
Yes, and you have to do it again in 10 days.
Right.
But if you're having a parasite problem, which can happen to all of us.
Yes. It's probably the
And it's nothing
safest
to be upset about. It's going to happen.
Right, it's going to happen. It's totally natural. But we think Safeguard is probably the best broad spectrum dewormer to have on hand, safety wise, etc.
Exactly.
Corid powder and Prolium.
And I always have the liquid.
And I have the powder. They both work.
So crazy.
That's funny.
I bought the liquid, so that's where we're talking about another thing we can add in your first aid kit is to have dosing syringes or droppers.
Right, definitely.
So-
I like the glass eyedroppers with a little bit of a bent tip.
Yeah.
They work really well for us.
And I've used a tuberculin syringe, which is a syringe that only to the very top is 1 ml.
Right,
So it's very small amounts that you can give.
right.
And also a syringe that goes up to 3 mLs, because sometimes you're giving a medication that you're giving, or water, if you have to give them water, or the dropper bulk, like you said, can do that
Yeah,
too.
with the bent dropper. So the Corid or Amprolium is for coccidiosis.
Coccidiosis, which a lot of them can have.
It happens easily. If you have someone who's had chronic diarrhea, I mean, you can go have a fecal done, but
Yeah.
I would start them on Corid right away.
And you have to really just, when you get these dewormers and you put them in the first aid kit, just read up on them, because you need to understand the instructions, and
Yes.
some of them have to be repeated, some of them do not, some are
Right.
daily, some are one time, and some there is a withdrawal from being able to
To eat the eggs.
Eat the eggs.
Right.
So you have to give the medication time to run through the chicken system and through the eggs, and you don't eat them.
Right.
So, we're saying to have this stuff on hand, but keep an eye on reading instructions and looking at them.
Absolutely. And check your expiration dates too.
Yes.
Most of these things we're talking about are good for multiple years.
Yes.
But you don't want to be in desperate need of something and pop open your emergency kit and find that it expired a
And you're
year
like,
ago.
"Oh, no."
Yeah, that won't work, right.
The other thing is, and you put this one on here, Superglue, which I didn't think about.
Superglue, right. So one of my girls had a slash injury on her.
Okay.
And the vet could not make it out, and he told me to superglue the skin together.
There is a glue that veterinarians use.
There
that
is, right,
The
right.
version, it's a medical version of Superglue.
Right. We ended up not doing it because the cut was more shallow than we thought, and we
Okay.
just kept it clean and we sprayed it out with Veterycin.
Okay.
But the other place we used it was on a ripped beak.
Okay.
So beaks are like the same material that
As in
fingernails are made out of,
exactly.
right? And when they're torn, it can go below the quick, the same way a
Right.
fingernail can. And the chicken beak is filled with all kinds of nerve endings. They really use their beak the way we use our fingers.
Oh, yeah.
So if they have a tear, you can, and there's a place to make it adhere, you can tamp it down with the super glue.
Right.
and keep it from tearing more while it heals.
Right, and just keep an eye on it. It'll heal from the inside out.
Right.
And just keep an eye. And the other thing that you mentioned was the Veterycin.
Veterycin.
And that is always good to have on hand. It's a little more expensive, but you're only going to buy one bottle of it and have it in there. I've used it multiple times.
Definitely. I use it for all of the animals.
It's basically cleans a wound. So
right.
we all have had the chicken that pecks the other chicken in the comb.
Right.
And you go back there and you see it. This is good to clean the wound.
You can pretty much use it on any wound with the exception of maybe puncture wounds.
Right.
Yeah.
You just want to clean it out, get it going. You want to have this on hand in your first aid kit. The other thing that we were talking about, beaks and toenails, if they get a ripped toenail, Quick Stop is good for a powder. It comes in a powder.
A blood stop powder, yeah.
Or you can use cornstarch.
You can use cornstarch in
and
a
that
pinch.
is the natural way to stop
right.
that. If you get a nail caught in a fence or something like
Even
that.
if you're trimming a nail and you hit the quick.
Yeah.
Now we have a blood stop powder, and there's also a blood stop gel that I've used in an emergency, and we keep them on hand because of the sheep.
The dogs, the
Jacob
cats, everybody.
sheep are way too prone to break their horns.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing that's going to have a blood supply
exactly.
in it that you're going to need
blood
to
and
stop.
nerves. So it's really good for that.
In a
Bluekote,
pinch, you can use flour even too.
you can, yeah, anything to just sort of help the blood coagulate. Bluekote's another really good one for like pecked combs, that sort of thing, foot injuries. It sort of eliminates a lot of that bright red color that
right.
makes them, bright red blood that puts them in their dinosaur killing frenzy, right?
This is the thing that we're talking about is chickens are brutal when it comes to if there's a wound.
Yeah, they can be.
They see blood and they're going after it.
Right. Dinosaurs.
You have to protect everyone. You have to protect that chicken from everybody else.
Right.
Plus the wound. So, having these things on hand. Now, I use green goo for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Even combs that are dry. Poppy just got the other day somebody because it's so cold. I've been putting green goo on the combs to keep them kind of moist. But her comb got pecked.
Oh yeah.
So I put the green goo on there and cleaned it, and that stuff I use constantly.
Yeah, the green goo is great, especially if you don't want to deal with the messiness of Bluekote.
And the other thing is it has a scent to it. So they stay away from it.
Right, that herbal smell.
Herbal smell.
It's a great thing to have on hand. You can use it for minor frostbite. You can use it as a frostbite preventative if it's not going to be super cold.
Yeah, and Vaseline is, if you don't have it or you don't have it yet, Vaseline will work the same way.
Right, and Vaseline's also great in the case of scaly leg mite. Like our rescue roosters had terrible scaly leg mite. You smother them with the Vaseline. You can also put a drop of Veterycin. Veterycin is nice to have on hand as a natural way to help a chicken with some minor respiratory issues.
Right.
But you can put a drop of Veterycin in your Vaseline, whip it up, and then coat the legs with it to help get rid of scaly leg mite.
Right.
We also keep a bunch of really practical stuff on hand. KY jelly for lubrication.
Yes.
Let's see, gloves, sterile gloves.
We were even talking about a headlamp because say you're by yourself and you don't have somebody to hold a light, you need to see what you're doing with a wound or with whatever.
Right.
That's always a good thing to have in there. And like we said, this could be a first aid kit for the house and all the animal, every animal.
I actually don't. Well, you're not going to laugh because you know me. I have a headlamp in my bag. I keep it in my bag because if I have to feed the animals after dark.
Well, yeah, you have to go to the farm.
Right. I need to be able to see. Pete bought me one soon after we started dating because he was like, "You're trying to feed with you've got a cell phone light in one hand and a feed in the other." So
much easier.
It changed my life to have my
Joe
headlamp.
is addicted to flashlights. So that's only, that goes right with flashlights.
Right.
So we probably have 5 headlamps that he
Awesome.
owns.
So the headlamp is a really good thing to have. We said tweezers. I have a paramedical grade forceps.
Yeah, alligator forceps. They're the ones that look like little alligator mouth at the end.
Yes.
And they're good if, say, a stick stuck in the foot.
All kinds of things, yeah.
I mean, you just don't know what could happen.
I've used them when I was cleaning up bumblefoot.
Yeah.
They're just helpful to sort of hold some things back while you clean.
Yes.
I have a curette as well.
Oh, yeah.
For debriding.
Yes.
Once you've dealt with a bad case of bumblefoot, it's something that you might want to keep on hand.
Yeah.
Nail clippers.
Nail trimmers we have for everybody.
Right.
So chickens, they do have nails. They can grow out. They can get stuck on something.
Right.
So you want to be prepared for any of that stuff that's going to come along.
A good file is helpful too if you get a jagged toenail. I file the ends of some of my boys, Ricardo. I file the ends of Ricardo's spurs because they're like daggers.
Oh my God.
Because he's so big.
Yeah.
So we just give him a pedicure and I file it so that it's rounded and smooth. Yeah, it works really well. Towels to wrap.
Blankets.
Right, to wrap animals in.
To give medication.
Right.
The number one thing that should be a part of your first aid kit that we haven't even mentioned yet is a portable hospital.
Yes.
So a large size dog crate or a pop-up.
Yeah, they work perfectly.
And a safe place where you can put this. So that this one can be a chicken that has an injury, an illness can be separated for an hour to however many, like
for days, right?
6 weeks.
Right.
Okay. So you need a place to put them. And this is something I did not know first having chickens.
Okay.
We had the 4 buffs, and then little girl was my little girl. I love this chicken.
Right.
And she had a lot of health problems. And you don't know that they're going to go after another chicken, and you don't know that you're going to have to take them out. Where are you going to put them?
Right.
So number one thing should be to always have a place to put them.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a super big dog crate.
No, we have a small dog crate. It's not even a medium, it's smaller than that.
Yeah.
That we use for a single animal that's sick, and they either go in our basement or in my art studio.
Yep.
Usually in our basement. And then we have a soft-sided pop-up.
The pop-ups are awesome.
Yeah, and we have one of them, and we will use that for the same thing. If there's a chicken that's mobile but ill and needs to be...
The pop-up is the best.
Right, because they can get up and move a little bit. It's a really good thing to have on hand.
Pop-ups. The other thing the pop-ups are good for, if you have a weather emergency.
That's true.
Let's look at this too, because all around the country there's different weather emergencies. Right. And you're like, okay, to California you got fires, to blizzards, to hurricanes. You're not going to want to leave your chickens out in the elements.
Oh, no.
So you have a garage, you have a basement. I always thought in the beginning that the soft-sided pop-ups, they would try to peck through.
Yeah.
They do not.
No.
So these, if you have multiple chickens, one pop-up, the large ones might fit like 3 or 4 chickens for a day or 2.
Right.
So have them on hand. They're as part of your first aid kit.
Right. You can zip off the top and or the bottom. I mean, the whole reason
we got them, and then the top zips off.
The whole reason we got them to begin with was to safely have chicks outside to enjoy the grass. So we would zip the bottom off.
And I use them for that too.
Right.
That also. So you use them for everything.
You really do. They're a fantastic thing to keep on hand.
And then Joe always puts my pop-ups away, and I'm yelling, "Where'd you put my pop-up?"
And they fold down so nicely too.
They're flat.
Yeah.
So you can just put it behind something and forget it until you need it.
So they take up much less space.
So having that, so the first aid kit should, now that it's well stocked. The other thing, it's, you don't want anything to ever happen, but if it does, you want to be
You're prepared. Right.
So God forbid, when and I can talk from my own experience. Stuff happens.
It does, as much as you don't want it to.
And you're like, what? Even with Drew, I remember talking to you when it happened, and I didn't have craft sticks.
Oh,
and
right.
I'm like, girls, do we have popsicles?
Eat fast.
Melt a popsicle. You can always run out somewhere, but you definitely, want to have it.
Yeah, the more you can be prepared with, the better off you are, because it is so stressful, especially if it's an emergency you've never dealt with before, something new.
Yeah. I mean, just with even anybody, so if you have an emergency with a person, you call 911, the people are prepared with all these things.
Right.
You have an emergency with an animal, there's usually emergency vets that are open 24/7. Some of them are not equipped to take care of chickens.
That's true, right.
So in those off hours, say we all have a chicken vet, but they might not be open 24/7. They're not that emergency vet. You have to have means to take care of them.
Right.
And deal with these things that can happen.
My vet will do chickens, but if I text him at 10 p.m. with an emergency, he's going to say, do this, this, and this. And if I don't have those things on hand...
It's just the supplies.
Right, I can't do those things. So
plus, it calms you down a little bit knowing that you can do something.
It's definitely a sense of security to know you have some things in place.
Yeah. So now that we've got our first aid kit...
We have our first aid kit.
We got a cup of coffee.
Yes.
What should we do? Should we crack some eggs and make something?
We should. Yeah, I think so.
So, to lighten the mood a little bit, this is one of my favorite things And it's old school.
It's very old school, yeah.
Now here in
Very
Maryland,
old-fashioned.
we have a thing called snowballs.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody else has them, but growing up, my mother always got egg custard flavor.
Egg custard flavored.
And with marshmallow on top. And
Yeah.
then that's what I have. And now I've trained the girls. They don't even know what egg custard really is too much.
But they know that's the flavor you want.
They know that's what you get. So what we're going to do, we're going to crack some eggs and make some egg custard pie.
Right. So custard cannot exist without eggs.
Exactly.
This is not a dessert you can really recreate without eggs, egg custard. And custard is essentially, it's a mixture of eggs, milk, and cream. You see that over and over in desserts.
Yes.
So you use that, like it's the basis for bread pudding and a bunch of other things like that. But egg custard can also hold its own as a dessert. It is a thing, egg custard. And it used to be able to get it in custard dishes. It would be egg custard.
Exactly.
But then people started putting it in a pie as well. So egg custard pie is a thing.
Because it tastes so good with a nice crust.
Exactly. So it becomes a pie filling. So one of the interesting things about it is the fact that it relies on eggs for its structure and stability.
When you think about a lot of recipes, eggs are what binds everything together.
That's right. That's
so,
right.
Hey, it's creating its own thing. I mean, like when you make a ricotta mixture for lasagna, you put the egg to keep that.
Right.
When you...
It's a binder.
If you're making anything, the egg is going to bind it all together, so it makes sense.
And things like traditional pastry creams
Yes.
that a pastry chef will be making, eggs where they added most to the structure. Now, modern chefs tend to use some cornstarch for added stability.
Which you add that to soups to thicken. It's a thickener.
Exactly. You use that in so many places, except traditional egg custard.
So it's
That
not
is
in the
eggs.
traditional
No.
custard. Okay.
No, and sometimes you do see it in the pie filling, but most of the time when you do a pie filling for an egg custard pie, you're going to add some butter,
Yes.
and that's what's going to add your structure.
I mean, all these ingredients, how can you go wrong with this pie?
So what we call real egg custard, what we grew up with, is super silky smooth, but still light,
Right.
and it contains only eggs, sugar, milk, nutmeg, because half of the Maryland desserts have to have nutmeg,
Everything has nutmeg in it.
and vanilla, and a pinch of salt. That's it.
And all those are so good.
Right.
Like, how can you go wrong
You
with
really
that?
can't. Recipes will vary. If you looked up an egg custard recipe right now, you might see some recipes that call for separating an egg white or two, beating that, and then folding it back in.
Okay.
Because it's not that I'm a lazy baker, but I don't often want to separate eggs for no good reason because I don't have a use for the egg whites.
I was going to say, when I separate an egg, I do not want to give up that egg white.
Exactly.
I end up cooking it for the chickens
Right.
if I have nothing else to do, or the dogs.
Right. So I prefer to use whole eggs in egg custard as well as other things. So my recipe, the one I got from my grandmother,
Okay.
use the whole eggs. So what you would do is you would scald milk in a saucepan.
Okay.
Then you would temper the eggs.
Which is, tempering eggs, if you don't know, and I did this for my pumpkin pies this year, is you add a little bit at a time in and you stir it constantly. If you don't, what can happen is your egg is going to cook.
Right.
So you're going to have like a scrambled egg inside where you don't want that.
You will have cooked egg bits, and it's very unappetizing. If you're making, say, lemon curd, you can strain that out,
Yeah.
or whiskey sauce.
Right, like we've talked about before.
But in egg custard, you cannot.
So tempering the eggs, you're going to add in just a little bits at a time to warm, and then
Right.
stirring constantly.
So you're trying to get to a homogeneous temperature so
that
it can all
cooks the
work
eggs
together.
slowly.
Right. So you scald your milk, you temper your eggs, and then if you're just making the custard, you would pour it into, we used to have little bowls, they were called custard cups.
And now they're called ramekins.
Ramekins, right. So you would pour the mixture into that, and you would probably bake them in a water bath. So you'd set the ramekins in a baking dish with maybe an inch of water in it.
Okay, and it kind of steams them too, I guess.
It steams them, it keeps them moist.
Yeah.
It keeps that silky, custardy texture. So obviously you're not going to bake your pie in a water bath.
No.
So that's where you include the butter, so you have a stabilizing fat in there.
Right.
It's really that simple. You either do it in your custard cups or you do it in your favorite pie crust.
And again, you can maybe change this. This is what we always talk about, making this your own. And a little bit of coconut on top would be delicious with that.
Yes, except Pete won't eat coconut. So no coconut in my house.
But you know what? I mean, it would like just a little bit like kind of mixed in.
It's similar to coconut cream pie.
Yeah, but you could change it up a little bit or add something to, but the
But definitely
core recipe.
Sprinkle that nutmeg on top. You need that nutmeg.
If you don't have nutmeg,
it's really a custard without nutmeg.
it's not. So we got the pie. We're going. That's a comfort food, right?
It really is.
So you get pie, coffee together. We're together. What do we like to do? Shop. So let's move on to retail therapy. I can't help it. I think we need a soundboard.
Yes.
Because then that would stop me.
Chrissy, the human soundboard. We'll have to retire you.
The button. Retail therapy.
I'm not sure I want you to have a soundboard. Now that you think, if we have a soundboard, you're not allowed to be it can't be near you.
I have to.
Okay.
I am sound matrix over here.
I'm sorry. Okay, let's focus.
Joe's always like, please stop with the sounds.
I've never known you to not make sounds. I mean, I pretend, but no,
it's so much fun.
You've always done it, yeah.
Okay, so retail therapy.
Retail therapy.
Today we're talking about something everyone kind of might know. This company's kind of gotten big over the last few years.
They've become very popular.
We're talking about fluffy layers.
Right.
And they are, which we talk about, Maryland-based.
That's right. That's right. So Tara Greer is the founder of Fluffy Layers. She grew up in Annapolis, Maryland.
Right.
And currently the business is currently based in Odenton, Maryland.
Which is right outside of Annapolis.
Right. And so she studied fashion and design in college. And then after she got married and was having kids, she moved back home to Maryland.
I mean, she even went to New York, apparently.
Right.
And worked in the fashion industry
exactly, for a while.
And then came home to have a family.
And then she
raised some chickens.
Got chickens.
Yes. And realized, hey, I want to be chicken glam.
Chicken glam, that's true. She started making chicken feeders out of old chandeliers. This is according to her website.
Yeah.
Chicken feeders out of old chandeliers, and she started designing really cute farm chicken prints.
In which she wanted to be chicken glam, which that's how we all want to be.
Right, it's true. Yeah.
So, back even when I started 5-6 years ago, I think she wasn't even in at that point.
She started the business in 2014, and one of the taglines is "There's a bit of farm girl in all of us." So I think her stuff really appeals to people across the board.
It does.
Whether you have animals or whether you're thinking about getting them.
Yeah, so she basically had a need for some things and wanted to be stylish with it, and started out looking for these things, being a designer herself, and could not find it.
Right. And if you go to her website and you read her About section, it's really interesting reading her history.
Right.
And there's one line on there that really resonates with us. She says, "My advice for female entrepreneurs is simple. Work hard and be original."
Yeah.
That's it.
And she saw the need for something, and it wasn't there.
Right.
So she created it. And that's kind of what women in business have.
Exactly. You make the thing you want to see.
Yes.
So she started making amazingly adorable clothing and household items.
I think she kind of started with the aprons, too. Like the egg collecting aprons.
Uh-huh.
When you have, I started out with 4 chickens, and so I was like, okay, I'm getting like 1 to 4 eggs a day. I didn't need an apron.
Right.
Now, I have in the teens of chickens, so yes, when you're collecting eggs,
I'll tell you.
place to put all these eggs.
I still use a basket, and I'll tell you why. No, the apron is adorable, and I think on any person
it's hard to remember to put on sometimes.
Well, I think any person who's not as clumsy as I am is fine with an apron.
If you fall, you're
okay, no, I didn't fall. I got in the coop, and I had eggs in my pockets, and I'm just clumsy. I bumped into the doorway on the way up.
Okay.
Busted eggs against my leg.
If you've had an egg break in your coat pocket, I'm raising
I don't have enough hands to raise.
I'm raising mine right now because it's happened to all of us.
I've put them in back pockets. I've put them in front. I've done all kinds of stupid things with them.
It's happened to the kids, and they come in and they're in tears.
Oh no. But I really wouldn't want to mess up one of those gorgeous egg aprons because they are really pretty.
They are, but you can throw them in the washer. I mean,
it's true. I have one of the beautiful baking aprons.
Yes, you do.
I love it.
You baked on Thanksgiving and posted that really cool picture of your apple pie, which looked good.
That was a nice apple pie. That apron, though, I mean, it's got the roosters and the flowers. I love everything. The ruffles.
The kids actually had the kid aprons.
Oh, do they?
Because
really
they
cute.
wanted to collect eggs, and like you forget, like you said, and you're just like boom. But they have. She has everything. She has tea towels, pot holders, leggings,
coffee cups,
anything that you want to be a little chick lamb.
Yeah.
And her prints are so
They're super cute. She has a lot of different designs. Some chickens, some have lots of farm animals. She's got some horses in there.
She does. She has horses, and she has even like little kid, like toddler dresses.
Yeah.
Like when I look on
So
there for
cute.
Magpie, I'm like, oh my goodness. You know, I don't know. Maybe my niece / goddaughter, you might be seeing a picture of her in one of these dresses soon. And you know, it's really cute stuff. Cute totes, because this is the thing we've been talking about across the board. When you're into chickens, you're farming the chickens, you want to represent that in who you are.
Sure.
So, like Joe says, I can't take another chicken and some tchotchke in this house. I'm like, but the chicken
I see
lady.
a lot of places where chicken tchotchkes can still fit in this house.
They
Sorry,
can
Joe.
still fit in here.
Plenty of space for
So,
chickens.
but you want to represent what your passion is, and you want to. It doesn't, you know. So this
Well,
what
you
this
know,
website does. There's socks.
If you think about the fact that just look at our statistics, 86% of our followers are female.
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, we want this super cute stuff.
That's who's farming these chickens in the backyard, or
Right.
the moms.
Pet chickens. Yeah.
And the kids in the beginning all said,
Right.
we're going to help you.
Well, you know, that's a whole other story. We know where that goes.
That does not go to getting some help. So, you know, we want to look kind of farmy glam. It's fun.
It's cute. It is.
Fluffy Layers has that look down.
They do. So you can find them on their website, which is fluffylayers.com.
Exactly.
Link in our show notes. They have an Etsy shop. They have an Amazon shop.
Yes.
Sometimes they are at local festivals.
They are. So when I went to the poultry swap a few years ago.
The Maryland Poultry Swap.
The Maryland Poultry Swap. Not this year when we went, but they were there.
Yeah.
And I spoke with them, really nice. But this is way before our
Podcast,
was
right,
even in the
right.
works. And, you know, she was there and she was explaining how there was a need for it. So she just
Exactly. Fill the
made
need,
it.
right.
And it's a good company to get behind.
Women owned. We love those women owned companies.
Yeah, so check out the prints. I don't know, sometimes in your local feed stores you may see stuff
true.
from Fluffy Layers. Now we have it partly because
She's a Maryland company.
she's a Maryland girl
Right.
just like us.
Right.
But she is national.
She is
now.
national, yeah.
So you can find it, check her out.
Most of you have probably heard of her, but if you haven't, go look at her stuff. It's super cute.
Just Google Fluffy Layers and it'll come up.
Right.
So, should we talk about what we're going to talk about next week?
Absolutely. Next week, we are going to talk about probably the best known chicken breed in America, the Rhode Island Red.
The Rhode Island Red.
Our main topic is chicken mentor, building a chicken community.
And this is something that is close to our hearts, so it's going to be great.
Right. Our crack in the eggs is homemade mayonnaise.
Yay! And you know what? Take a look out because we might be putting some pictures and videos out of us making some mayonnaise.
Yes, we might. And then our retail therapy spotlight is an artist. If you follow her on Instagram, she's under Soulful Chickens.
Yay, can't wait.
Yeah, adorable. So with that, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, we'll say goodbye. Thank you for listening. And don't forget, always hug your chicken every day.
Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to see more from us, follow us on Instagram at Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. To send us comments, feedback, suggestion, or questions, email us directly, Chrissie&Holly at coffeewiththechickenladies.com. Thanks for listening.